I attended an all-boys high school called Seton Hall Prep in South Orange, New Jersey, just on the border of the city of Newark. I was an Irish Catholic kid from the suburbs attending a school in the city with mainly Italian students. And we related to each other often through labels and stereotypes. Many of them thought that I was this Irish kid from the countryside. They would say to me, "Hey, McCormack, what are you, from Vermont?" And of course I thought they all were somehow in league with the mafia. And the social dynamic in the school was one of mock him first before he mocks you. We were constantly trying to make ourselves feel superior by putting down another person and pointing out how inferior he was. And let's face it, even as adults, we regularly relate to people through labels. It's as if we put this giant label on a person and we say, old, black, fat, poor. And in the Christian community that St. Paul founded in Corinth, there was another way in which distorted behaviors manifest themselves. The Christians were forming these cliques, these individual parties in which they were claiming to belong to Paul or Apollos, this great preacher, or to St. Peter. And they used these cliques to make themselves feel important or superior. And they even used the gifts of the Spirit to boast about themselves. And poor St. Paul, he's pulling his hair out over this. In the Roman Empire, divisiveness, bragging, one-upmanship, bitter rivalries were common, and Paul was seeing that this way of relating had infected his Christian community. You see, the Christians in Corinth had forgotten that Jesus died to end all hostilities and divisions. They forgot that Jesus calls us to peace and love and to be concerned about the other, not our own status. Now let's face it, we live in a time of bitter divisions driven by strong emotions. This divisiveness is crippling our government as we speak. I hear about so many families and friends that can't talk to each other about certain topics, especially politics. They stop speaking to each other in some cases. People are turning their backs on each other, tuning each other out, not listening anymore. And I should alert you to the fact that this divisive way of relating has infected the church as well. I know that may come as a shock to you, but it's true. Now, I do have good news to preach to you this morning. And here's the good news. While we scatter, Jesus gathers. While we divide, Jesus unites. While we are very good at hurting each other, Jesus seeks to heal us. Now, in Jesus' day, Israel herself was deeply divided between Samaritans and Galileans, Jews from Judea and Jews from the north. There were these different religious parties, the Pharisees and Sadducees, the Essenes. But the prophets of Israel regularly promised that one day God would act to heal these divisions, to gather in God's people. Listen to what the prophet Ezekiel says. I will take you from the nations and gather you from all the countries, A new heart I will place in you. A new spirit I will put in you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a living heart. Jesus believed that the time for the great gathering had begun, and he believed that he had been called by God to be the agent of this final gathering. This is why he called Peter and James and Andrew and John to be fishers of people. And it's people, by the way. The word in Greek for a man is anan. The word in Greek for people is anthropos. And that's the word used in Mark's gospel today. Jesus is calling them to become fishers of people. He's calling these guys to join him, to cooperate and participate in the great gathering that has been launched. In chapter 13 of Luke's gospel, Jesus imagines himself as a mother hen who is gathering her brood under her wings. And we don't think about Jesus as the great gatherer, as someone who's gathering people, but I think we need to. And if we do, we'll start to understand what the Gospels are about. You see, God has called Jesus to gather God's people. And when that happens, the scattered people of God are brought together around Jesus. When that happens, they are healed and forgiven, freed, and renewed. Watch how Jesus does this. He always relates to another as a person. He knows nothing of stereotypes. He always sees the person. He didn't see a Samaritan. He saw a woman who had been excluded from her community. He didn't see a tax collector. He saw Levi. He didn't see a sick person. He saw Peter's mother-in-law. Now, while we scatter, Jesus gathers. He gathers this community and this parish into himself. And today I want you to feel him gather you into himself and into his arms and into his heart. Those of us who feel scattered in their lives, who feel deep division, allow Jesus to gather you in and heal you. Those parts of us that need to feel important, to put the other person down, let Jesus bring you into his heart to free you from that need. Jesus is creating a movement and a community that relates in a new way, the way he relates. He's forming a people who gather rather than scatter. He's forming a people free from the need to put others down. He's creating a community where all people are welcome. And in this community, we are united to Jesus and each other by the Spirit. This is a community known for forgiveness and peace. It's a community known for justice and love. And we are that community. That's why he gathers us here today. So I want you to try one practice this morning to get an experience of being gathered by Jesus. I want you to turn to a person next to you, introduce yourself, and promise to pray for that person this week. Go ahead. And I promise to pray for you, Father, this week. You see, as we pray for each other, we are participating in Jesus gathering all of us in. He gathers us here as he calls us through the Spirit to come and worship. He gathers us in to hear his word, receive his sacrament, and send us out to share with all the scattered and divided people Jesus' good news.